Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're talking about how you could play a song by Kenny Chesney called When I See This Bar. And it starts out on a G major chord. And you could play G major just in a regular way, and you do first finger on the A string on the second fret, second finger on the low E string on the third fret, the third finger on the high E string on the third fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a G major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. But in the video, it looks like Kenny Chesney's using a slightly different voicing for G major. And the way you play G major, the way Kenny's playing it, his first finger is going to go to the A string on the second fret, second finger on the low E string on the third fret, the third finger is going to go to the B string on the third fret, and take the pinky and go to the high E string on the third fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds like a G major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. And then from the G, actually, through most of the tune, actually, we're going to be going to a C major chord. There's a couple ways we could play C. We could do first finger on the B string, first fret, the second finger on the D string on the second fret, the third finger on the A string on the third fret. If you strum all those together, that sounds a C major. It sounds really, really happy. And what it looks like in the video, though, is that Kenny Chesney's using something called C major 9. And the way you play C major 9, first finger is going to go to the D on the second fret, second finger is going to go to the A string on the third fret, third finger on the B string on the third fret, and the pinky on the high E string on the third fret. And if you strum all those together, kind of the A string to the high E string will get you a clear sound. That's called C major 9. So a lot of the song actually we're just kind of alternating between the G and C major 9. And you can do that with downs, or you can do that with ups. And through that part, actually, there's some cool little hits like on the guitar, actually. So you could kind of do the G chord, and then play second fret on the D string, and then play your C chord, which might be kind of a cool lead-in. Or you could play the G chord, and then play open G, and then do C major. Or there's this really cool little leadlet where you go open to second is kind of a hammer on, and then we go to this open G, and then we go back to the D string and kind of do a pull off from the second to open. So I kind of play the open D and kind of put my finger down with enough force to get the sound to carry, and then play an open G and going right back to that second fret on the D string for kind of a pull off back to the open string. And you could actually kind of make that part of your C chord, actually, like you could kind of work all that with the first finger to go back to the G chord. So that could kind of be your C chord lead in. C, O2, O2, O, G, C. And what it kind of sounds like, now it can also sound really cool to kind of embellish those chords as bass notes. And on that G major, you could kind of play a low E string for your bass note on that chord. That's the lowest note with the name G in that chord, or on the guitar at all. And so you could play a low E string and then do your down on the G. And then you can kind of simulate that on the C chord too. If you kind of dig on that, you can play the A string for your bass to get the lowest C note on the guitar, and then do it down. So you could kind of work it as kind of a bass, down, and then a C chord with a bass, down, G with a bass, down, C with a bass, down, or you might want to throw in some of those licks. And then through that part, though, a couple other strum patterns actually that we'll be using through the video. One of my favorite 4/4 strum patterns is a down, down, up, up, down, which can completely work with this. So you'd have G with a down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, up. So we tried that kind of through our intro progression. That kind of becomes our verse. We'd have G with down, down, up, down, C, down. Sounds like Kenny's kind of doing later on, though, is almost kind of a down, down, up, down. So he's kind of leaving out that first upstroke. So you have G with kind of a down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, up. Now with either one of those patterns, you could also throw in your bass notes. So you could make the down, down, up, down, up into a bass, down, up, down, up. So G with a low bass, down, up, down, C with an A bass, down, up, down, up. Or you could just kind of work it off of bass, down, up, down, C with a bass, down, up, down, C with a bass, down, up, down, C with a bass, down, up, down, G with a bass, down, up, down, C with a bass, down, up, down. So either way, it actually kind of works. So you want to kind of experiment with that and kind of figure out how you want to do it. And then we're basically going to be repeating pre-chorus part. And on our pre-chorus, we go to a C major, and I'd be really tempted to actually use the other C major voicing for this. And then from there, we're going to be going to a D major. A couple different ways you may want to play around with for playing D major. Traditionally, root position, you play first finger on the G string, second fret, second finger on the high E string on the second fret, and third finger on the B string on the third fret. And if you strum the D, G, B, and E, then that sounds a D major chord. That sounds really, really happy. Now, a couple other D majors that can be very, very cool to work through the tune, and actually sometimes you kind of hear them in the background, is you can kind of take the C major chord, and if you slide that shape over, so now I got first finger on the B string third, second finger on the D string fourth, third finger on the A string fifth, that sounds something called D add 4. You're kind of playing a root and a 3 and a 4 and a root and a 9, actually, kind of like a D major 9. So that might be one possibility you might want to kind of play around with for the D major. Another one would be if you took the C major 9 voicing that we were doing, and if you took that shape and slid over 2 frets, that would be another D major. And you'd have first finger on the D string fourth, second finger on the A string third, third finger on the B string third, pinky on the high string on, or fifth fret. Right. So we got 4, 5, 5, 5. So you might want to kind of play around with that. We're kind of working from the C chord, and then go into a D chord, and then go into a G chord. And you can even kind of leave 3 and 4 down on those strings. You'll kind of hear that as a lick later on, actually, in the tune, where you can kind of work that first down to kind of slide into the D. And this is a little weird, actually. The D and the G and the pre-chorus kind of half. So you're kind of working your whole strum pattern on C, and then you're kind of halving a D and a G chord. There's a couple ways you could do that, actually. So we could have the C with kind of a down, down, up, down, up, and we're working off of that pattern, and then do a down, down, up on the G, down, or down, down, up on the D, down, down, up on the G. So we have, so you have C, down, up, down, D, down, down, G, down, down, C, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, G, down, down, up. Now another way to kind of work it, now another way you could kind of half those chords is doing the D with kind of a down, down, and hit the G for the up, down, working with the down, down, up, down, up. So you have C with a down, down, up, down, D with a down, down, G on the up, down, C with a down, down, up, down, D with a down, down, G on the up, down, up. And you can also do that kind of using those other voicings. What can be very, very cool in that first down, 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 up, down, up, is to slide into the D, and then hit your G on the up. Actually, let's try that. So you have C with a down, down, up, down, C with a down, slide down, G on the up, down, C with a down, down, up, down, C with a down, slide down, G on the up, down, up. So we want to kind of play around with that too. And you can do that with those other voicings too, the C major 9 into the D major 4. So you want to kind of play around with that. And actually, sometimes you'll even hear kind of that in the background through the tune, actually kind of that double stop slide on 3 and 3, slide into 5th, and back to the third fret on the high E. Kind of digging on the down, down, up, down, up. You could kind of work that too, and kind of do the C with kind of the down, down, up, down, and then the D with the down, down, G on the up, down. It would be kind of a cool option that kind of matches the tune. So you got C with the down, down, up, down, D, down, down, G on the up, down, C with the down, down, up, down, D with the down, down, G on the up, down. Or you could add basses to that and have C with the bass, down, D with the D bass, down, G on the up, down, C with the bass, down, D with the D bass, down, G on the up, down. So I want to kind of play around with that too. And then from our pre-chorus, actually we go right back into our verse, so we're back on the G Cs. And we could do that a lot of different ways, actually. Let's try that bass down, up, down. So we have G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, C with the bass, down, and then from there we'll be going back into our pre-chorus part. So we kind of have that C with kind of, and we could do that with that same strum pattern. We could do that C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, G on the down, C with the bass, down, G with the bass, down, G on the down, and then from there we go kind of back into what's a little piece of our verse, but at the very end, instead of going back to the C chord, we end up going to a G chord. So it's almost like a little pre-chorus, actually, like right before it. So we tried that with kind of that same strum pattern. We have G with the bass, down, up, down, C 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 with the bass, down. But then we stay on G, and you might even want to think about doing kind of a little build-up on that, with kind of downs, or you may want to kind of play around with muting if you're kind of working out a way to kind of cover it for yourself. Just kind of like build up a lot of energy to kind of go into the chorus. And then on our chorus, we're taking a lot of those chords and kind of mixing them up. We're kind of starting on D major, another D, and then we go to G major, and another G major, but then we go to an E minor chord. And when we play E minor, the first finger is going to go to the A string on the second fret, the second finger is going to go to the D string on the second fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds like E minor chords. It sounds really, really sad. Now, because of those other voicings we're using for G and C, though, you may want to take the third finger and kind of add them on the B string third fret, pinky on the high on the third fret, and that's called E minor 7. And that can be a very, very cool thing to kind of work for the E minor. And randomly, there's this really cool hit actually where you'd have the kind of the G major, and you could use something called D/F sharp. And actually, we could talk about a couple different ways to kind of do this, to kind of help lead into the E minor chord. And the way you play D/F sharp, or D with an F sharp in the bass, is what that means. You put the first finger on the low E string second fret, second finger on the G string second fret, third finger on the high E string on the second fret, pinky on the B string on the third fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds like D/F sharp. Now another way you can work D/F sharp is to take the D major that we were doing, the regular D, and then kind of use your thumb to cover that low E string on the second fret. Now another possibility, because of these drone voicings, though, is to take the pinky and go to the high E on the third fret, just like the E minor 7, C major, C major. And then you could just take your first finger, go low E string on the second fret, second finger on the G string on the second fret. And that's kind of a D/F sharp or D/F sharp. If we kind of strum all those together. So you could be on your G and kind of think of it as a halving thing, like G, down, up, D/F sharp, down, up, and then hit your E minor, whichever strum pattern you're kind of working. So with the chorus, if we tried that with our down, down, up, down, up, we'd have D with the down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, and you can half a G and a D/F sharp, G, down, D/F sharp, down, E minor, down, down, up, down, D with the down, down, up, down, C with the down, down, up, down. From that last C, you may want to do that build up with those extra downs. So we're going to 8 downs, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, to kind of lead it back into the verse. So you may want to kind of play around with that idea, kind of build up a lot of energy for that. Now if we try that with our down, down, up, and then we have G with a down, down, up. So then we can try our chorus with our down, down, up, and then we have D with a down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, D/F sharp, down, E minor, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, C, down, 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 down. If you want to mix it up that way. Or we can do it with a bass down, up, and then we have D with a bass down, up, down, D with the bass down, up, down, G with the bass down, up, down, G with the low E bass down, D/F sharp, low E bass down, E minor, low E bass down, up, down, D with the D bass down, up, down, C with an A bass down, up, down, D, kind of work that build up. Or we could do it with a bass down, up, and then we'd have D with the bass down, down, D with the bass down, down, G with the bass down, down, G with the low E bass down, D/F sharp, low E bass down, E minor, low E bass down, down, D with the D bass down, down, C with an A bass down, down, C, down, 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 down. And then from there, from our chorus, we end up going back into our verse part. So we're back on that G with the G and the C alternation. And you can still kind of throw in your licks actually around that. And actually, just on a side topic, actually, there's some really cool solo licks that kind of turn up later on. But this whole whole song actually is kind of around G major, the key of G major. And so if you wanted to kind of make up your own lead licks, actually, and some of these licks that we talked about in the beginning are kind of coming from this scale, it's something called E minor pentatonic scale. And what an E minor pentatonic scale is it means that the E sounds sad. That's what the E minor part sounds like. And then penta means 5, so it's a 5-note scale. And scale is from the Latin scala, which means to measure. So actually, it means 5-note ladder, or measuring out 5 notes. Now the cool thing about the E minor pentatonic though is all your open strings are part of it. And then, so you got E and A and D and G and B and E. And there's a really cool little pattern actually, just right in the first couple frets actually, where you can play 3rd fret on the high E string, open E, and then 3rd fret on the B string, and then open B, and then 2nd fret on the G string, and then open G, and then 2nd fret on the D string, and then open D, and then 2nd fret on the A string, and then open A, and then 3rd fret on the low E string, and then open E. And that would be the notes of the pentatonic, because you're playing a G and an E and a D and a B and an A and a G and a E and a D and a B and an A and a G and an E. So we're really playing 5 notes. G's, A's, B's, D's, and E's. But we're just playing them in a lot of different places. So as you're working around the chord, you might want to take your first finger, because he's actually really close to that 2nd fret on the G, 2nd fret on the D, 2nd fret on the A. And as you're working through the chord progression, you may want to try and kind of make up some of your own licks. And you can work hammer-ons for that, you can work pull-offs for that. So it might be kind of a cool thing to just kind of improv with it. And just kind of see what you can kind of find to kind of fill in time. Freeform kind of idea. That might be kind of a cool thing through your verse as you're going through it. And then from there, then we end up kind of going into an interesting verse tag, actually, that kind of happens. Then right after that verse, then we go into a really cool little verse tag, where it starts on C major, and then there's this really cool bass move, actually, where on the A string, you can play 3rd fret on the A string, it's kind of backing up the C chord. 2nd fret on the A string is kind of backing up the C chord, or it could be a G chord. And then you'd be going to an open A string, and that kind of would back up an A minor chord. And when you play A minor, first finger is going to go to the B string on the 1st fret, 2nd finger on the D string on the 2nd fret, 3rd finger on the G string on the 2nd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds like A minor chord, and it sounds really, really sad. And then from the A note in the bass, actually, we go right back to that 2nd fret on the A string, so kind of back to that B note. So in the bass part, you kind of hear that C, B, A, B, and then we kind of hold on C, and then we go to D. So if we're following the chords, we could kind of think about it as kind of a C, G, A minor, G, and then a C, D. Now randomly on the A minor though, if you're kind of digging on these drone voicings for chords, you could kind of take the first finger, go D string 2nd, 2nd finger on the G string 2nd, 3rd finger on the B string 3rd, and the pinky on high E 3rd. And if you strum all those, that sounds like A sus or an A7 sus. And actually that could substitute for that A minor change. And the main thing really about the G change actually is that B note in the bass. So you could even take the first finger and go A string 2nd fret, hold on to the drone voicing with the 3 and 4, and kind of work it that way. So you could be thinking about a C major 9, G/B, and then A7 sus, and G/B, and then back to C. So you may want to kind of play around with those voicings. Now if we tried that with our down, down, up, a lot of those first 4 chords are actually at half. So we'd end up doing down, down, ups on them. So we have C. So we tried that with our down, down, up, down, up. Then we'd have C with a down, down, up, and then we'd have the kind of that B in the bass, A in the bass, B in the bass, and C with a down, 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 D with a down, down, up. Or you could add basses to that. You'd have C with a bass, down, up, B with an A, or B bass, down, up, A bass, down, up, B bass, down, C with a bass, down, up, down, D with a D bass, down, up, down. Or something else you may want to think about is kind of doing that down, down, up. So we could kind of half the first chord and then kind of go into that strum pattern. So we have C with a down, down, C with a down, down, G/B, down, A minor, down, G/B, down, C with a down, down, D with a down, down. And something else you may want to think about is kind of arpeggiating the chords. What arpeggio means is broken chords. So you could kind of take the C chord and kind of do like a A, D, G string, and then back to A string kind of idea. So you could go A, D, G, A, and then make that B change, A, D, G, A, and then an A change, and then back to the B change. So you could kind of work that as kind of a little lick. try these with basses too, and kind of have that bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, C with the bass down, up, down, D with the D bass down, up, down, or you can try it with the arpeggios, and then kind of pick it back up on the C, and the D. So there's a couple different ideas there. And then from that verse tag, we're going to be going back into our verse part. And it's really kind of more the pre-chorus actually, where we got that double G at the end. So we got the kind of the G chord, C, G, C, G, C, G, and you can even kind of build up on that last G. Lots of downs could kind of work from that. And then from there we go into our solo part, which is very much like our verse tag, but kind of add another G and a C and a G to it. So on our solo part, we kind of got that C, G slash B, A, G slash B, C with the bass down, up, down, D with the D bass down, up, down, G with the Louis bass down, up, down, C with the A bass down, up, down, G with the Louis bass down, up, down, up. And then we'd be going into our bridge part. Now there's some really cool licks through the solo though, so you could kind of try these. The first one, and there are two different guitar solos actually, I'm kind of alternating between two of them. But one of them kind of starts on 8th fret on the B string, or on the high E string, and then we go to 8th fret on the B, 7 on the high E, 8 on the B, and then 5 on the high E, 7 on the B string, 7 on the high E, 8 on the B, and then we go into kind of a cool little thirds lick where you can play 6 on the B string, and then kind of 7th fret on the G string at the same time, and then we kind of do that 3 times and then go to 5th fret on the B and the G. I'm kind of doing that as like a little mini bar. So it's a little weird because that F natural right after you played the F sharp, but I think I heard that right. And then you kind of go to the 6 and the 7, and then we kind of do a slide to 8, 9, and we do that 3 times and kind of hit the 7s together on the D and the G string. So we got A, 7, 8, 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5, 5s, and then 8, 9, 7s. I'm going to kind of play around with that. And then there's a cool little electric guitar lick that comes in after that where you play 2nd fret on the G string and do a slide to the 4th fret, back to the 2nd fret, and pull off to the open G. Now, this is kind of interesting. So you got slide from 2 to 4, leaving enough pressure to kind of get the sound to carry. And then you immediately slide back to 2 and then do a pull off to the open G. So you got 2, 4, 2, and then right after that we go to the D string and kind of do a pull off twice. And then we go to the 2nd fret on the A string with a pull off. And then we go back to the 2 on the A, open D, 2 on the A, and then 3 on the low E string. So we got 2, 4, 2, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0, 2, 3. Just kind of playing around with that lick. And then from the solo, we're going to end. So right after that, then we go back into our chorus. So we got D with the D bass down, up, down, D with the D bass down, up, down, 2 with Louis bass down, up, down, 2 with Louis bass down, D slash F sharp with Louis bass down, E minor with Louis bass down, up, down, D with the D bass down, up, down, C with an A bass down, up, down, C with an A bass down, up, down, up. And then from there, then we go back into kind of our verse, and it kind of has that verse tag that we were working on before. So you could kind of work that as a lot of different ways. You got kind of just the regular verses that G with the bass down, up, down, C with an A bass down, or you could even kind of try those mixing up licks. Might be kind of a cool thing. Kind of try that too. And then from there, at the end of that verse, then we go back into kind of our verse tag, where we got kind of that C, G, A minor, G slash B, C, then we go into a vamp on the G, C, actually our verse formula for the rest of the tune. So our outro is just kind of working around that G and C. So you may want to play around with that and just kind of see what you can say with it. Now just as an aside too, because this can be a very, very cool tune to jam with that E minor pentatonic scale or G major pentatonic scale. And actually I have a cool little video, and you might see the link down there at the bottom that says Talking with the Guitar. And so you might want to click on that actually, where we kind of cover something called the pentatonic map, which would be a kind of a cool thing to kind of start trying some lead guitar with if you're interested in that. So you kind of take that scale and kind of see what you can say with it. But that's the basics of how you can play When I See This Bar by Kenny Chesney. So good luck!